All right, welcome back for the episode of Carnivore Trades. Today is Thursday, March 16th, 2023. If you're not done so already, please give the video a thumbs up, like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Come find me on carnivoretrades.com for swing trading alerts and analysis. Anyways, let's get into it today. So started off kind of a sideways market here, and we were still kind of inside of that pattern yesterday from, that kind of like bullish inside bar there on the 10-minute. You can kind of see we rallied up and, we talked about the fact that it was kind of trappy yesterday. Like I knew they were going to do some nonsense in the afternoon. I actually talked about that this morning with some members, and I actually in our member forum here I posted, hey, look, expecting more of the same type price action today. Don't be surprised if someone finds some news later in the day that saves the market. Notice how I use the word finds, because it is Opex week, and sure enough, JP Morgan, I believe Morgan Stanley as well, basically, they came out and said they're going to help recapitalize First Republic. And so the market, was really just, it took off to the races ever since then. And it's been a nice rally here for the spiders, up 1.6%, and the Qs. Everybody's talking about the NASDAQ right now, up 2% on the day. I don't see a ton more upside on the daily time frame here. I think tomorrow, if anything, will probably be a little bit of a pause. Maybe a gap up in the morning you could get a little bit of a fade if we do gap up, but huge move there off the lows in the NASDAQ. And now we're getting into some critical levels. We got through the 304 area, that little mini kind of double top. And the next area that I'm really looking at is this 308.43 and the gap fill up there around 309. So some pretty good levels here we are coming into on the NASDAQ. And again, the NASDAQ, we've talked about this, right? This is the leader to the downside. And so it's getting the biggest bounce. I said back in December, the NASDAQ would outperform in January. I didn't think that would continue all the way out into March, but that has been the case here. And obviously you can see the Russell and kind of the Dow, which generally lead down in a bear market, or I should say the Russell and the NASDAQ generally lead down in the bear market, and the Dow outperforms. It hasn't really been the case right now, but again, like we keep saying, a lot of the losses rather have been pulled forward in the NASDAQ, and these names are still getting a bounce even as we have problems out here with the IWM and, the financials. Obviously, XLF getting a little bit of a bid here today. But money's looking for a safe haven right now, and that happens to be big tech. So Microsoft, by the way, this is a monster move here for Microsoft. I don't see it getting through this level right now. You have a lot of resistance up here. Google as well. That's a big move there on Google coming into the 200 MA. Apple can still go higher here, but either way, I'm getting kind of ahead of myself. Point is, NASDAQ holding up well. Russell and NASDAQ typically perform more to the downside in bear markets, but they have to play catch up here because they haven't. The Russell hasn't had as much downside as the NASDAQ, and now it's kind of getting a roll reversal. Same thing with the Dow here, but either way, Dow's still holding this trend line. Again, we do have FOMC next week, and I think after Opex, the market kind of gets a little bit more on kind of a thinner ice period. But like I've been saying the last couple of days, volatility's got to come in here. VIX is down 10%. I want to see it take out these lows here, maybe even get down to 22, somewhere in that area. But again, this is not really what you want to see as a bull. This is what the bears really want, honestly. I know it sounds hard to believe the market's up as much as it is, but we have FOMC next week. If we rally ahead of that, it's going to pull expectations way back in, right? So, very much like earlier this month here, I said if we trade up ahead of Jerome Powell's speech, it's more likely we're going to sell off, and that's exactly what happened here. So, again, markets, they're rejoicing right now in the near term. We talked about this. If the regional banks kind of stabilize, we'll probably get a little bit of a bounce. We'll probably get more of our footing here. We're basically right at this inverse head and shoulders neckline. And at the moment, it looks like we're going to close above it. I'm doing my live stream right after the close for members, so doing this video a little early. Either way, this doesn't necessarily change everything. I'm still going off the weekly pattern, which is more dominant. And it's obviously we had a very big outside move last week, and we've got failed patterns here on the spiders, the triple Qs, and of course the Russell. We've already talked about this ad nauseum, but for some of you guys maybe just joining, that's kind of that's the gist here. So that green bar low there, that inside bar pattern has failed. So we are looking for lower highs. We are looking for a selling opportunity here in the markets, even as we do get bids here. But anyways, let's get over here. So again, pretty much a nice rally day here. Let's look at SMH first. That is just cracking through the 250 level here. Again, I don't see a ton more upside here. This is about, this is getting pretty long in the tooth here. Maybe you could get up to that gap fill. I can't rule it out. You've got stocks like Nvidia that are holding up really well. This rising wedge is getting really tight, and we are now getting, right into that 618. So there you have it. So right there at 255, this gap's up here tomorrow. I mean, this could be, everybody wants to short Nvidia. I mean, there's your level. You want to take a shot at it. So, and a lot of the time, you guys who know from watching my channel, when you get these rising wedges, a lot of the time you get a pierce through it, you get a peekaboo through it, and then it comes back down. A good example would be the XBD here, broker dealers. You get that kind of fake out, and then a down move, and look how quickly it turns to the downside there. XLF kind of did the same thing here a little bit, not so much, not as robust as the XBD, but you kind of had like a little bit of a peak there through that area. Nothing crazy, but either way, I'm going to digress a little bit. Either way, semiconductors, they're holding up, but I don't see a ton of upside. AMD, massive squeeze there, coming into a lot of resistance though. So again, you guys get the idea. All right, IGV up 2.77. So again, peaking back above this trend line here. If you get through that, obviously there's this pivot and then a gap fill. Above that, again, not seeing a ton of upside here in cloud either, but it's holding up right now, so we'll respect it here. All right, over to the transports via the DJT. So finally getting a bounce here. And remember, the transports have been much on the weaker side, and even today, they're not really doing a whole lot here. You see them up just 1.17%, and look at the transports here versus the spiders. Like, it's pretty much just a straight up shot here. And obviously the NASDAQ way outperforming. But the Dow transports here definitely on the weaker side, so we'll definitely make note of that. Again, tomorrow, this level here, 14,139, that's going to be a key level. If we close below that on the week, that is a huge, huge, huge negative for the transports. All right, for interest rates here, so the 2 years quietly coming back in. Now, it hasn't taken out yesterday's lows. Again, you're still well above this green bar here. But if this starts to continue lower and reverses this move, it's going to be problematic, but for right now, it's holding up. Rates seem to be pricing in a much more dovish Fed. I don't know if that's going to be the case so much. They probably will look to, like, again, the Feds, they want the market lower, but they don't want to crash, right? They don't want a liquidation event. So my guess is they're probably still going to do 25 basis points, but I think the market is kind of pricing in like cutting. And I think that's where the bond market's a little bit off sides here. But again, either way, bonds getting a nice bid this past week or so, and they're coming off the highs. We'll just leave them at that right now until anything otherwise happens. You see the ZB still getting stuck at that area there, and the TLT, really, we'll say like 110 is going to be pretty good resistance here. We do have like slight lower highs here on the TLT though, for what that's worth. But anyways, over to housing here, XHB. Up 2% with everything else. Again, stalling out. Where did it stall? Right at that green bar, or I should say that trend line, which represents that previous weekly green bar low, which we closed below. So remember, that should be resistance here. Again, could we get up to these moving averages? It's certainly possible. Can't rule that out. ITB is also green as well, up 2.3, almost 2.5%. VNQ. So general real estate equities, it's not a strong pattern here. So this is this is an equity that's negative in a massively up tape. So not a really good look here, especially that you're inside of this red bar still. So we haven't even taken out the highs from March 10th. When you look at the spiders, obviously that's well above that, and the triple Qs, that's taken out the high from before Silicon Valley Bank went under. So definitely a laggard there is the VNQ and real estate. Definitely be careful with those. Anyways, XLF here, again, getting a continued bounce. It looks like it's trying to put in a near-term bottom here. When you get this kind of crazy volatility after a big drop, big up day, big down day, it's usually a signal that some type of a bottom wants to be put in here. But it is off the lows. We'll continue to watch that again. Obviously, this will be a tailwind if we get more news of stabilization. There's the KRE, still hasn't taken out that high from the 14th, but it's hanging in there for now. So I think some of these names are starting to stabilize a little bit. Again, if we get continued stabilization, it'll be a tailwind for the market. And then we did mention broker dealers as well, up 2.25, and it's flirting with that 200 moving average right now. So upside, maybe you can go back test 470. That would be probably max move. But if this consolidates sideways, it can go lower. So just be aware of that. Speaking of consolidating sideways, let's flip over to energy. What a big bear base! I got a lot of questions about people asking about going long crude. I'm not interested in going long crude here. Yes, I see the 200 week moving average, but you put in, this is like 4 months. Like, what kind of pattern is this? Down move? Did you ever close above this red bar? Nope. So that's just a big, big fat inside bar there on the weekly time frame. And it took about 4 months to play out. And that's a big bear base. So can this become a failed pattern? Could we close above this line tomorrow and negate it? It's possible. If that happens, then I think you could go long crude, and it will probably rip like probably to $90 very quickly. But nothing right now is saying that. I mean, I guess it's getting a bounce. It's getting a little bit of a bid off that 200, but that's a bear base there above support. When a stock or an equity basis like that above a level, it's telling you it wants to break through it. So could you get a short-term bounce here? Yeah, but I mean, I wouldn't play it for more than a couple days, if that. I'm not even going to touch it until at least 60, but probably, I mean, I think it can overshoot down to $50. So I'm not touching crude right now. If anything, I'd be looking to short a retrace and a failed attempt to get back above support, or a previous support, so resistance. But either way, crude hanging in there. We'll reevaluate it tomorrow. XLE here, getting a bounce off that trend line. So trend line's been good. Nice move there, up just about 1% there. I have not played it here. I think this can go lower. I think we're potentially just getting started with the recession stuff here. So there's still room for energy to fall here. The trade's not over with, but I still think there has to be more of a correction, has to be more backing and filling. But hey, it's been resilient really all year, so we'll give it the benefit of the doubt. I just personally am not interested currently. XOP, nice bounce there at up 2.25 off that little double bottom. So nice bid there. So maybe that can get a bid over the next couple of days. So OIH, what a fall. So almost all the way down to 250 there, almost down to our target. 253.75 was the low. And again, you have a pivot there. You got a pivot there. So there is, there's some support just above 250. But either way, big fall, probably due for a retrace of 280, maybe gap fill. Got to let that 20 moving average kind of catch up here. But nice fall there. I mean, this was just, 5-6 trading days ago at 320. It's at 265 now. So big drop there. Nat gas, not a whole lot to add here. We do have some intraday higher lows, and we are holding. It's not a huge positive, but it's holding this green bar for now. I'm not sure what wants to happen. If this makes a higher high, meaning you get above 267.4. If you get above that, I think probably the low is in. Until then, I still can't rule out another micro dip into that 235, 236 area. But for right now, it's hanging in there. I'm seeing some little bit of dip buying here. Inventories, there was kind of a flash sell-off. That dip got bought pretty quickly. So either way, bigger point stands that this is trying to set up a higher low for a run at $3 and then eventually $3.50 and $4. I'm just not sure if it has to have one more micro dip, maybe tomorrow, maybe even, it is Opex week. It is a quad witch Opex week too. So again, look at the range here. It's been sideways. So maybe we get a move after that. It's certainly possible. Anyways, over to the dollar index, DXY fractionally lower here today. Again, nothing broken with the pattern. And you can see here on the weekly, just a little test candle inside bar that is bullish. It's setting up for a move higher. Nothing really new to add to it there. Gold here, backing off just a little bit, but nothing terrible, right? So just kind of coming back into this trend line here, and that's where it stalled out. So all the way back to 2020. So multiple hits there. Gold's hanging in there. Again, 1962 is my level for it. I don't know if it gets there. It's not necessarily a shorting level, by the way. It's just a level that I'm definitely watching. So, but if this consolidates sideways, it can go higher. Nothing to say it's broken at this point. Silver hanging in there, so nothing terrible here. Up move inside action. Big green bar, 1, 2, 3 pullback. This is not terrible here. You know, if this goes sideways longer, this can go higher. So silver not looking terrible. Now if it breaks down, it breaks down. But as of right now, it's holding up. So we'll give it the upside bias. Platinum also a little bit of a bid off the lows. Again, much sloppier of a chart though. I wouldn't touch this. Right now, again, as you guys know, I'm still expecting another leg lower, but near term, nothing wrong with it. Then copper here, low of the day, 382. So nice little dump there. If this gives you a pattern, that could be shorted down to 375. All right, over to Bitcoin here. So Bitcoin not doing a whole lot. Again, we're watching this big megaphone pattern here, and nice little surge the other day. We pulled back in, and it's holding up. So maybe this can have a little bit more upside again. Nothing's changed here. You have an up move, really big up move. And now potentially, I mean, it's kind of early and it's kind of sloppy, but if this goes sideways again, this can go higher. So we'll watch Bitcoin here. Another little caveat with Bitcoin too is if the banking sector stabilizes, I think you could see some rotate out, money rotating out of this. I think a lot of this move was panic related. People just not knowing where they could put their money in the near term, and they're just looking to park it anywhere. And they're able to, you know, hey, if I can move it into Bitcoin temporarily, I don't know if my bank's going to be solvent tomorrow, to move it out, move it into my Coinbase wallet or whatever, get it out. And then till then, when the dust settles, you can, you know, maybe move it back to your bank if everything's okay. But yeah, essentially that was kind of a theory there, but we'll watch it. Nothing wrong with the pattern. Just keep watching that upper trend line there. Anyways, all right, let's get back over to the spider. So we are just kind of in float mode here. It is 3:30 and markets are hanging in there for now. It does look like they want to get above that trend line. Again, short term, I don't see a lot of upside here, specifically in the Qs like Microsoft, Google. These names are getting really long in the tooth here. Tesla, you know, this 190 area is going to be good resistance. The only one I really see, Amazon's into a little bit of resistance as well. But the only one I really see with significant upside is Apple. You know, that can still get to 160, and that has a really good pattern here, especially on the weekly. So we'll still continue to respect that. But a lot of these other names, you know, NVIDIA, that's got that 618. It's not very far away. It's only, since I've been doing this video, now it's up to 254. So it's only $1 away now. So I'm not seeing a ton of upside here, specifically in technology, but it is the flavor of the month, certainly. So we'll respect it until proven otherwise. Anyways, guys, going to wrap up here. You guys take care. Come find me at carnivoretrades.com. I'll talk to you all tomorrow.